Hey, what's happening everyone? SirJames coming at you guys with another video. In today's video, I'm here to provide you a review for the Atelier Firis, the Alchemist, and the Mysterious Journey, which is pretty much the second game in the installment. However, this time around, instead of playing as Sophie from the first game, in this one you are going to be playing as Firis. Now what's interesting is how the main storyline goes. It's kind of a straightforward plot line if you think about it, is that one, again, this new character, Firis, she's basically been in this cavern all her life, and she's always dreamed about going outside. Eventually, Sophie and her companion end up bursting through the door, and she starts showing off this alchemy, and thus Firis has an interest in this, and she has this thought process, but wait, if she can make bombs and healing items, and if I can master this alchemy stuff, then maybe I will be able to journey outside and see the outside world for the first time, like her sister has been able to do because she's compatible, she's able to take care of herself. It's just a big dream that she has. Eventually, she actually becomes Sophie's companion, or in this case, student, if you will, and thus they kind of set out on a common goal where as soon as Firis does make it to the outside world, you and Sophie end up splitting different ways, but you all have the same main goal, which of course is to get signed permission slips from the Alchemist Masters just so you can take the exam, because there's kind of a lot at stake here, especially if you do pass the exam, there's more freedom. However, if you don't, there's kind of a downside to that, and so therefore you set off on your adventure, and that's how our story begins. Now, I'm going to go over the graphics really quick. Is that there's not like a huge big changer compared to the first game to the second game. I mean, there are some improvements here and there, but for the most part they kind of stuck with the same art style, which is really not a problem to me because the characters are really fleshed out and detailed, and the environments also look decent as well as you travel along to different locations and of course master alchemy along your way. But again, for the most part, it has a nice visualization for the game, and again, everything is nicely detailed, bright and colorful, and thus something that you'll enjoy from the moment you start the game and of course until you end, especially if you're a big fan of the first one. Next up, let me go ahead and talk about the gameplay, and the gameplay for the most part is kind of broken down into two different segments. The first part, and it's the most important part, is the whole alchemy setup. If you play the first game, then you are familiar with how this works. However, if you haven't played the first game, which in this case I would definitely recommend because it's kind of nice to know some of the characters ahead of time, is that you have this whole alchemy setup, which it does give you a nice detailed tutorial to kind of guide you through for the beginning portions of the game. The alchemy is what you're going to be able to use to gather materials and make new things like healing potions, weapons, you name it. There's a lot of different things that you can make with alchemy, and as time goes on, when your character improves the alchemy, you'll actually be able to learn how to craft different things, and of course at times help people with their different tasks using alchemy, because the whole point of this is Firis needs to master alchemy, and if she does it and she passes the exam, she'll be able to stay outside for as long as she wants. That's the main goal here. However, the problem with going outside is that you have creatures and enemies of some sorts, and of course you have her sister alongside her at all times. So of course the other portion of this besides the alchemy setup is of course combat. Combat is very simple. It's turn-based, so you have, your basic attacks. You could block. You could use items that you crafted through alchemy, like for example, the bomb is going to be one of the first things that you get to try out eventually. You could use those during combat, and of course you have your special abilities, and as the meter fills up, especially for some of the tougher fights, you'll be able to perform a combo attack with you and your sister, which unleashes like a more devastating attack and just things like that. And overall, the combat is definitely improved from the first game, and it works out quite well for this one, to the point where you're definitely going to be investing your time and mostly alchemy, so you can face some of the more challenges in the near future. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the initial sound aspect. Now, right off the bat, you have the choice between English or Japanese voice actors, and seeing as I got the chance to play the game through both and hear both sides of the characters talking, honestly, the game sounds great no matter what choice you go with. I mean, sometimes, to be honest, I get tired of reading subtitles, so I'll go with the English dub, and I had no complaints with that. What's nice about the English voice actors is that, sometimes they don't provide, good enough emotions for things where emotion is needed. But I felt like the person, voice acting, Firis at the times, especially when there needs to be emotion, I felt like they capture that very, very well. So I was definitely pleased with that. And of course, let us not forget the soundtrack in this is also lovely to listen to. I've enjoyed it in the first game and it continues over to this new installment. So overall, sound is definitely very good. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk about its lifespan and what you're able to do to kind of prolong your replay value here. First off, this game is pretty much a lot bigger compared to its first counterpart. In this case, this game honestly feels like it's 10 times bigger than its previous installment. On top of that, you get to kind of choose a path that you get to follow in terms of alchemy, combat, character relations, and so forth. And of course, there's over 600 available quests with 12 different endings depending on how your relationship develops. That alone is going to give you a massive replay value right off the bat. And of course, you also have, you could change your character's appearance with different costumes. And of course, you have the whole alchemy that you have to master, because no matter how many times you level up, there's always something new to learn, and it's basically a non-stop grind. So again, if that's what you enjoyed from the first installment, then you will definitely love this one. Even if you're not playing as Sophie, this new character is still lovable and enjoyable as you progress and kind of learn a little bit more, especially in terms of backstory and relationships. Now in the end, I pretty much had a really good time with this title. It may not be like a system seller or a main game to get right off the bat, but I will say is that if you are fans of the first game, then it's definitely worth getting into the second one. If you never played the first game, then this might be something you might want to rent and check on your time, especially if you like RPG based games. But in the end, I'm going to be giving this a score of 8 out of 10. I had a great time. However, there was a little bit more left to be desired, which, hopefully we see more in the near future, especially if they kind of do a little bit of a twist. But who knows what the future may hold for this or how many games will be in the series. But until then, I am SirJames from Gamerfuzion.com, where we empower your gaming.